I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, Moose Lake City Council for Wednesday, July 13, 2022. And I'd like to start with a pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome our guests here today. Thank you for coming. Moving on, the first item is the agenda. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the agenda? So moved. Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to consent agenda number 2, we have the minutes for the regular city council meeting for June 8th, 2022. Any questions or discussion on the minutes?
Motion approved.
Have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to financial reports. City accounts payable for June. Let me turn over you to explain what we're doing here.
Absolutely. So we wanted to provide visibility for the city's accounts payables activities from the previous council meeting until current. So that is what was on your desk this morning. As far as the additional financial reporting, we've been having a little bit of an issue with our credit card processing at the campground. Those monies go right into our general fund. So we're working with CampSpot and our campground host to determine where some discrepancies are coming into play. They're very minor, it's under $300, but we couldn't bank reconcile it to the penny yet without having some of those solutions determined. So we didn't want to provide financial reports that didn't include our bank reconciliation for the month of June. So we will double up on financial reports next month, but what you have in front of you is the accounts payables for June. And so whether or not we want to proceed with approving just the accounts payables and or wait till next month and we'll include financials for 2 months worth and payables for 2 months worth, that is entirely up to council.
So I suggest in the financial reports, number 1, city accounts payable for June 2022, and number 3, liquor store profit loss statement for June 2022, and the other ones when they are ready to be sent to the city council, and then also in next month agenda. Any question or comments by the council?
I would just assume table all of it, next month, so we can actually go through the financials.
Excellent.
That'd be my motion.
It's your motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to number 3, public comment. This time is reserved for comments from the public on matters not listed on the agenda. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. We have none today. Thank you. Number 4, departmental reports. Police Chief Department Report for June 2022. An LMCIT benchmark project.
Here, members of the council, Administrator Owens. On your packet, you'll see our police report for June, totaling 268 calls for service. 82 of those were extra patrol, 33 traffic stops, 20 community engagements, 17 assist other agencies, 114 calls for service, and 2 medicals. You can definitely tell summer's here. We have a lot going on. I know we got a pretty full agenda tonight, so I'll try and get through mine pretty quick. 4th of July seemed to go off pretty well. We didn't really have too much going on. I think the weather might have hampered the numbers a little bit, but still it's pretty uneventful, at least on our end. There were some updates that were out in the paper, some articles on some of the issues that we've been having with extra cars being in people's yards, driveways, grass not being cut, things to that nature. So some of the ones that I've talked to have made some efforts of cleaning some of it up. We also went and reworked some of our city ordinance stuff, make sure everything was in our CAD system, which hadn't been in there in the past, so now we're all set with all that. So those ones that aren't kind of following along are probably going to be getting another warning letter and they'll probably be cited for it. So, but I think everybody else has been kind of moving in the right direction. We had a pursuit here last week with Officer Surratt that started, and then I joined at one point and pitted the vehicle, and so we had a little bit of damage on one of the squad, but we were able to get the suspect and put in. There was also a stolen vehicle recovered here from Mille Lacs in Moose Lake. So it's been pretty busy. We have active shooter training set up at the school, so we've got a date locked in for that. We'll be doing that, so then working with Superintendent Steen, the use of the school, and the different members that would potentially respond from our area. So we've got the instructor and everybody all locked in, and we'll be doing that later this summer. And prepping for Agate Day, so I think we're pretty well set to move forward with that. It's going to be a busy weekend. We'll have 2 of us on. We can help Phil's crew out and all, with whatever they, I think they've got all the barriers set where we need them, and it should work pretty smooth like it always does. Today we had about 50 little kids from Mini Moose that were down at the police department going through and looking at the squads and the fire department, so it's kind of nice to see those little ones down there. A lot of fun. But other than that, I was asked to speak at a TZD, it's called Towards Zero Death Conference in St. Cloud this fall for our ATV work that we've done. So I'll be doing that later. Other than that, we're just kind of moving ahead, tackling each event as they come up and go forward. So, any questions?
Thanks, Chief. Please. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
City Superintendent. Report for June.
I'll try. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Administrator Owens. Yes, like Darren said, summer's here, we're busy, firing all cylinders, going in 15 different directions. It's good. Busy, but it's good. We'll start in the water department. Distributed 5.4 million gallons of drinking water in the month of June. A couple water breaks, water repairs we had this year. One was on the this last month. One was on the 500 block of Birch Avenue. That was done last week of June, just before Agate Days. We were able to get that patched up. That was on the parade route, so that was all happy. We got all that good. Main valve replacement on 2nd Street, that was kind of a nightmare, but it is done and fixed. That was one of our main feed lines heading to the tower, so that was a good one to get fixed as well. The GIS mapping system is going to start here at the end of the month. It's going to be a lot of work for the rest of the summer for my crew and myself, but it'll be a good thing to get that going in the right direction. Now we have piles of maps laying in the corner and up on the shelf and everywhere to shop. This will be good for the next city superintendent you guys have to, so you won't have to start where I started, so it'll be good. Sewer department collected 13.1 million gallons of wastewater month of June. As you noticed, been a little bit drier, right? A little bit drier. Last month was 21 million, right? I still a big problem. We need to still continue to spend money in I reduction. Huge, okay? June discharge, 39.1 million gallons of wastewater funds. Everything went out without a hitch. We met, I believe, all but one of our parameters. We're a little high on our pH. Not a big deal, it's a slap on the wrist. Found a couple different ways to offset that, so we're fine. We're good there. The lining project, are we touching on that later? Sorry, we'll jump past that one. Bridge lift station, no one knows about this. I just told Alyssa about it today. We're having some mechanical issues there. We have 2 loaner pumps in the hole right now pushing wastewater. Not a good place to be. The new grinder that we just put in there 4 months ago took a lightning strike about a month ago. Yeah, so we're looking at, I haven't looked at insurance on that yet, but we're going to. Kind of seems to be the way it goes for us. It's tough, but we'll do what we can, do everything we can, and we'll go from there. I do not have any more information other than that for right now. We have 2 pumps in the hole, we're moving wastewater, no one's flooding out, everything's fine, no one knows anything different, but it's not a good spot for us to be, but we're gonna get through it like we always do. Street department pothole filling as always, that's kind of done on a monthly basis. Backed-up patching, I broke it up into 2 sections this year. One is all our repairs from this last winter, which were a ton of them, which we barely finished before the 4th of July. We are now probably, we're gonna wait till after, obviously until after 8 days. We'll start doing some bad spots. So some spider webbing, some trench crossing settlements that you can go You drive down the street, First Street's a terrible one for that, actually. Your car will sit there and just do this constantly. We're gonna start raising some of them. We have some funds left in that line item in the budget. We're gonna start doing some of those minor repairs. I know I'm gonna get the comment, why don't you just go all the way to the other end of the block? Because we get it constantly. I wish I could do that, but I can't. So, but we're gonna do what we can with what we got, and that's the way that goes. 4th Street Road reconstruct, we're gonna talk about that later as well, right? And the rest of it, campground, park, cemeteries, the road, the new permanent fireworks shooting location was put in just before it was needed anyway. Worked well. The fireworks guys, they loved it, worked out for everything they needed. They were super happy, way happier than last year, so that was always good. Parks and campground, they're just business as usual. Cemeteries are busy. Seems like weekly we have burials there. So we're doing really good. We're busy, but we're good. Any questions?
One, is that grinder working?
Grinder's
Pumps
not
are
working.
The grinder's still
Pumps are working, grinder's not working.
causing any trouble farther up?
Yep. All weekly, so. But we're just trying to get through it, and we'll have more to talk about on that.
Any idea when that grinder will be in? Done.
Took 4 months to get, so I don't know. I
Thank
wish
you.
I had better answers for you, but I don't.
Very good.
I'm going to finish one more thing that we put in the packet for you guys on the benchmark analytics. Alyssa and I had a lot of prep work to get together for this company. They asked, we were one of 30 agencies they picked to try and do this study on for a couple different reasons as you look in there, that whether it's PTSD claims, that we've made progress in the right direction, maybe that we've been looking at a couple other different ways of handling some things, and some of these things popping up. But they sent 2 people from this firm out of Chicago over here, along with the League of Minnesota Cities. We spent 2.5 hours with them, going through a lot of different things related to some of our operations, some of the different things we're doing, what we're trying to do, and we brought up a lot of our concerns and what's impacting us and pretty much everywhere else. But some of the things that we brought up, they were like, this was new to us, and it's like, how can that be? But they're going to really do this pretty in-depth study. They've been still emailing me on a regular basis, getting more and more data, and they're going to do this study on predictors to try to help prevent some of these things as they're coming out, whether it's a PTSD claim or what other type of treatment things we can do to make sure that these people can work through it. So it's pretty interesting that they're going to try it. I think it's only one in the nation doing this kind of study and this in depth, and they're a good group to work with. And Alyssa, I don't know if you had more that you wanted to.
Yeah, so they ensured confidentiality, which is important. So we got to have a lot of open, candid conversation. They will be publishing a report that we will have access to as a participant prior to its distribution. Some of the items that they kind of cued in on, which was really interesting to me in my role, and from an outside standpoint, looking in from an administrative standpoint, was they're really interested in some of the changes that Darren has implemented with the department since he's been there. So everything from training opportunities to upgrading equipment to policies that he's put in play and things of that nature that contribute, they think, to low turnover and lower rate of claims and things of that nature. So I want to make sure that I communicate how good of a job Darren's done, and the impact that he's had might be far, far greater than we've even been able to see yet from a long-standing standpoint of claims and turnover and financial impacts for the city of Moose Lake. So that was really, really a good thing to be a part of, and we'll have some more information to share as we move forward.
Thanks, Alyssa. You're too kind, but it's a whole group of us here, and I think that we've talked about that too, and all of us, that atmosphere that we have here and the support, I do feel supported here, and it's been working out great. So I think they were trying to pick up on that piece that we have here. So and then one other thing, Bill and some of the other guys are getting maybe another ATV bridge coming in between the new trail and Holiday. So I think that's probably going to take. Got any more update on that?
It'll be next month. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be down here in a week or something.
Okay, so that'll be another section how they can drop down. So we're still working on that stuff, but it's Phil and those guys that doing all the work on it. So all right,
Good job, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Municipal Liquor Store Department report.
teamwork.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, Alyssa. Well, we had a very long 4th of July, everybody knows. Weather was not compatible with some of the days, but it all turned out fairly well on my calculations. My calculations that I just did a couple minutes ago, it's probably $15,000 more than last 4th of July, so I think that's good. We have estimated a 3.5 surcharge on all credit card transactions on sale and off sale to try to make up our credit card fees. So I can see an increase in revenue from that. Also, I have some exciting news to generate more revenue for the city. It was brought to my attention today, the Minnesota Gambling Supply, they're called Pilot. They came in and they offered e-tabs. And I don't know if anybody's seen e-tabs. It's a little handheld computer thing that you would give your bartender $20 or however much you want to give them to load it on there, and you can play for hours, or you can blow all your money once, whatever. But I have talked to Eric and Barnum and Don on at Park Lake. They both have them, and they said that they make a lot of money off of that. So I think that would be another great way to generate some more revenue. And one lady that was in selling, she had a bar, and she said she paid it off in 2 years just with her e-tab commission. So I'm working with the family manager. We're going to have a meeting with this company on Monday just to get the basics and
What's it called again, Elaine?
it's the Minnesota Gambling Supply. Their company's called Pilot. Like the normal one around here is called Booty Chaser. Yeah, that's what everybody has. You've seen it? Yeah. But I kind of just looked at his things today, and they make more money. They give back more money than the Booty Chaser does.
They're very, I mean, as a person playing, they're very easy to run. I don't know how much, doesn't seem like it's a lot of work just behind the scenes.
Well, if you like to play Monday at 9 o'clock, we'll be there.
Okay.
Other than, and it's no cost to us whatsoever. No cost to the city. Nothing. So then we're going to negotiate a percentage as well. Hopefully it's a little higher than that's about all I have today. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Elaine, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4D Technology / Library Department quarterly update.
Hello, members of the council and administrator. For the library updates, we have been continuing to get more people into the library as the summer carries on. More kids out of school, so they'll coming in and getting lots of books from the library. It's nice to see them going off the shelves. We had an average of 33 people in January, and in June it's all the way up to 56 people per day. I think the highest we've had on a single day was June 23rd. We had 81 people come into the library. So it keeps us very busy. Let's see, we do have several programs planned coming up soon. We have a few authors coming in, such as Dean Hovey, who's going to be talking in the library. We have a therapy dog that comes in so the kids can read to a dog, and they've been really enjoying that. So we'll have Leo come in again. For our reading program for the summer, we have 95 kids signed up so far. And we've actually keep having a few trickle in and sign up to continue. We have about a few weeks left, 4 weeks I think, until the end of the summer reading program. We have a few excellent sponsors. I was able to get some gift cards from Quick Trip. And we also have some gift cards from like Pork Areas and a few other places around the area. So there will be some excellent prizes at the end for all those kids who have entered their raffle tickets. Any questions?
Oh, great, thank you very much, appreciate it. Moving on to 4E Motor Vehicle Department quarterly update.
Council. Hi. I don't know, we got a couple things to report, I guess. Just updating on our testing. It seems like we've been getting a lot more since school's been out, of course. And just since the last meeting, we've done about 125 tests since our last meeting. So that's been nice. About 220 total since December, which is really good. We're hoping to add another computer up at the front. We're thinking about doing like a kiosk thing so they're divided or whatever and put 2 computers up there. And what else? We've been getting a lot of people from the cities that come in to take their permits up at the depot, and when the kids are in or the parents are in, we're letting them know that we do offer it here so they don't have to make appointments up at the depot, because it's hard to get into there, and we're having all these people travel from the cities to go there, and our people are having to travel north or other places, so just trying to get the word out that we're here. And I think, I don't know, Alyssa, did you put it in the paper? I'm not sure.
It will be this next week.
It will be, okay.
Yep.
So then that should hopefully get the word out also. We just received our driver's manuals yesterday. When they stopped making driver's manuals with the state, vendors started making them, but you could only buy them in like 250 bulk. And I had contacted Sandstone at one point and okay to see if they wanted to go together and buy, but nobody was interested in doing that. So now they've changed it where you can buy 10 at a time, 10 per. So we're gonna give that a try, and our Class D and our motorcycle manuals will sell them for like $7, and we pay $3.25. And our CD manuals will be selling them for $10. And we pay $6.50 per piece, but we do have to pay tax, so we have to keep that in mind too. We are also working on selling ATV licenses and registration stickers for our office. I did purchase the last of the Ace Hardware ones that were pre-cut, and I'll check back with them when they have more cut, and I'll order. We're just going to start there, and if we see like we're going to be selling more than we think, we'll order a sheet of it, but we'd have to find somebody to cut it for us. So that's so hopefully we can make some money on that too. And I'm going to cut the stickers at home. I have a Cricut machine that I can cut. It's too hard to find stickers that you can actually cut to hand people. They're all, the ones you can buy are so close together that you can't cut them apart. So I thought I'd try to make them myself. I'll try. And then we'll probably be working short-staffed this summer with vacations and appointments, and I just want to assure you that we'll do our best to keep the overtime at a minimum. And it's just busy. It's been busy. Today was a little bit quieter, which was nice. I could catch up on with some stuff, but and let's see. I'm just saying people are really respectful for having only 4 people in the office at a time. It's really hard to hear with the plexiglass, which we would really like to keep up. Just kind of gives us a barrier between customers, and so people are doing really good, and they're being respectful for that. And I think that's about it. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I just want to mention the complimentary letter that the city received on the D&D.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Very nice compliment.
Oh, okay, yeah, we get a lot of that. We also get the other way, but we get a lot of that. Yeah, which is nice to hear. I just had a guy come in from the cities, and he just said, I come here no matter what. He has a cabin up here, and he said, I'll come here any day before I go to the cities again. It's just wonderful. So he goes, thank you for your service, and everybody always being so nice. So we're thankful. And I said, you can keep coming in. We're happy for your business. Yeah.
I thought it was important to share that email that came through, and I'll be sharing it with Karen and her staff as well. It is nice to hear the positives. Karen's been working really hard with her team. We implemented a monthly meeting. So on the third Thursday of every month we're meeting, and we're talking about ideas of generating more revenue. And so Karen got to describe a few of the ideas that came about, whether it be selling manuals or ATV license plates, things of that nature. So we're going to continue to just test different ideas of what's working and what isn't working, and see what we can come up with for other avenues of revenue. And it's been going really well.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to 4F, City Engineer Monthly Report for July.
So the meeting minutes are rather lengthy. There are 4 pages of them. We are going to touch on a majority of the topics on our meeting minutes within our actual meeting. So I will just kind of proceed at this time, and if any questions arise, please feel free to ask them, but we will cover majority of this material.
Any specific questions at this time? Very good, thank you. Moving on to 4G Chamber of Commerce update.
Yeah, so the Chamber has a number of upcoming events. We have Agate Days this weekend with Art in the Park. There's the 9 and Dine Golf Outing on Friday, July 29th. The Triathlon on Saturday, August 13th, and the Brew Fest on Saturday, September 17th. In addition, I just wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you to the Chamber for helping us. The Chamber did some fundraising for the City of Moose Lake fireworks. I also wanted to say thank you to all the local businesses that donated. We received a total of $8,242.62 from area local businesses and residents as they went through Marketplace. So that's absolutely outstanding. We did, in the packet, I did include a thank you flyer that will be in tomorrow's paper. It's going to be a half-page color ad, and we just want to make sure that we communicate on behalf of the city how much we appreciate the donations for the fireworks.
Questions, Council? Thanks, Alyssa.
You're welcome.
Moving on to 5, previously discussed business. A is the Safety Committee update.
I'll keep this really brief. I just wanted to just give a little bit of visibility to some things that are happening in the background. As Phil and I met with the League of Minnesota Cities, we were made aware of some opportunities out there to get grants that are safety related. So we did, Superintendent Edner did apply for a grant. We received a $600 grant. We're going to continue to look for opportunities out there to help fund our safety program. And so I just wanted to provide a little bit of visibility to activities that are happening in the background.
Will the grant be for equipment or for?
Equipment.
Okay, great. Appreciate that.
Yep.
Good job.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 6, new business. Clifton Larson Allen 2021 exit.
All right. I am not Clifton Larson or Allen, but I am Doug Host, and I'm a principal with Clifton Larson Allen. And each year I have the fun opportunity to present the results of our audit. We kind of put a Cliff Notes version together in this PowerPoint, so that's, I believe all council has a copy of it, so that is what I will work through today. Page 2 is just the agenda. Those are the things I'll go through today. A little introduction about the audit team, some required communications, look at your financial results for 2021 and summarize it. So with that, on page 3, we list out the people that worked on the city's audit. And I've been auditing governments for 31 years. Yep, I started when I was 6, So it's kid, auditor's gotta be honest, right?
So use it as something.
No, as your auditor, I gotta be honest with you, I am older than 37 right now, but I have been doing this 31 years, and I love what I do. Danny Lark is the manager. I think he's been on the audit, your audit every year that we've been doing it. Eric Smedzrud as well. So the four most experienced people have all been on your audit for multiple years. That sure helps to make the audit go smoothly. But just like a good college football team, we always try to have one more new layer, each year. And this year it was Cameron and Chandler. And that's your team. Page 4. Audit standards require us to issue certain reports. One of them is a 4-page letter that is stapled, and it's for the council and mayor. 30-second summary of what's in those 4 pages. We issued a clean opinion on your financial statements. We didn't have any difficulties when we performed the audit, and we didn't have any disagreements with management. So it's about as clean and boilerplate as you can get. Going into the 2021 audit, we knew there was a little bit of turnover in staff here and people in new roles. And when you do this for 31 years, it happens on a number of audits each year. And a lot of times it doesn't go very smoothly. But to the contrary here, considering those unique circumstances, the audit went very well. And staff were great to work with. Thank you to Melissa, Ryan. Everybody that we bugged for a week, or a little longer sometimes, but we just really appreciate the cooperation we received. The audit's been done for like 6-7 weeks. It just hadn't been able to get here to present it. So great job by staff from an outsider looking in. Page 5, we're also required to communicate items regarding internal controls. These are the same 3 we've had for a few years. We don't have a lot of people, so we have to tell you, we don't have a lot of people to segregate all the functions, so we told you. And we did just have a couple of adjusting entries as part of the year-end close, and we helped with the clerical function of putting your financial statements together. Nothing outrageous. We didn't identify any material frauds or anything. If we did, we'd have to report that to you. So all in all, pretty straightforward. Page 6. There's a category of things that we're required to communicate called significant deficiencies. I'm happy to report there are none. This year, there weren't any last year either. Page 7, the state auditor's office requires us to test your compliance with various state statutes over cash and investments, debt, all kinds of stuff, contracts. And one of the items we're required to just communicate this year is in regards to your debt levy. Like you issue debt, and there's a state statute that says you should levy 105% of the principal and interest that's going to be due on that debt in the coming year. So you got the money on hand to make the debt payments. Excuse me. But when you do that over a number of years, and people pay their taxes, so you start building up buckets of money, which is kind of what has happened here in the past. And instead of just constantly levying and building up this excess, you can use fund balance. And that's really what the city's been doing. But at some point, the rubber meets the road and there really isn't any fund balance left. And we're getting to that point here, or kind of got to that point. So on page 8, I just included an example of, all right, for your governmental activities, not your water, sewer, or any of the enterprise funds, but let's just assume you had $251,000 of principal payments, $38,000 of interest. So this statute says you should levy $303,000, right? The business type activities that lists out principal and interest and what the levy requirement is. Well, for 2021, the levy was only $267,000. I think this is the right numbers. But either which way, and a bunch of fund balance was used to cover. That's normal. But what's happened now is, that's a deficit of $302,000 at 105%, $269,000 at 10%. So bottom line is, you're back to the point where you need to levy for the 105% of the principal and interest. Start building up those reserves again. That makes sense? Okay. Page 9, financially, the overall city as a whole, it's net position, it's net worth. It's the difference between your assets and liabilities. You've got more good things than bad things. And it's been increasing over the last 5 years, actually it increased about 33%. So that means the county financially is pretty stable and your financial position is improving. On page 10, we look at the general fund, and it's the main operating fund of the city. And the fund balance, or the reserves, ended at about 2.6 million, which was up about 1,000 from the prior year. And a bunch of that has strings attached to it, and a bunch doesn't. The part that doesn't is called unassigned, and that actually dipped a little bit in the current year, but still sitting at 1.4 million is very healthy level for your unassigned or unattached fund balance. For those that have been here for a few years, we like this chart on this page to look at your reserves, see how the trends are going. And overall there's recommendations that you should have no less than 5 months of reserves built up. All right, fund balance, right? Last year you were at about 9.7, this year it dropped to 6.1. And that's pretty significant. You can see the trend was on its way up, but big drop. But like with all numbers, be careful of what you imply or interpret from numbers, because there can be a number of reasons. Like for this year, there was a lot of capital related expenditures. You had some flood related expenditures, a couple squad cars, I think, a street project. All those are totally different than the prior year. So it's like comparing like an apple to a banana, not even an apple to an orange. So 6.1, your reserves are still sufficient, and just know that there was a reason your level of reserves dipped in 2021. Page 11, overall, where the governmental funds, mostly general fund revenues are coming from, are taxes, special assessments, and intergovernmental. Sales taxes were up in 2021, and we kind of expected that. In 2020 was the COVID year, and people didn't go out. So we expected it to go up, and it did. The intergovernmental revenues, that's grants. We expected that to go up because in 2020 you didn't receive any ARPA money, the small cities development grant, block grant. There's a big increase in that in 2021. So as part of the audit, when we did our planning up front, everything that we expected to show up in the revenues and on the next page, expenditures kind of came to fruition. We read the minutes, and that's how we developed, our expectations. So overall, page 12, the expenditures did go up about 890,000 from 2020. From 2019 to 2020, they were still pretty level with just an increase of 58,000. But this chart here shows that the capital outlay went up about 660,000. Biggest chunk of that increase is right there in capital outlay. And that kind of ties into what I mentioned earlier. Page 13, also as part of the audit, we test and verify that debt service payments that were due were made on time, and there are no issues to report there. So far, I really just talked about the governmental funds. You also have enterprise funds. The DMV gets reported as enterprise fund, the liquor store, water, sewer, and electric utility as well. But page 14, we also verified those debt payments were made according to the schedule. The revenue notes were down about 800,000 of payments. And the general obligation bonds, two different kinds of debt, was there's about $350,000 decrease there. Go through real quick on each of these individual enterprise funds. The liquor store, revenues were up 119,000. Well, we kind of expected that since it's kind of closed for a while in 2020. So we expected revenues up and the operating expenses up, expected to be up as well. Page 16 just looks at the gross profit percentage. Looks like 2021 is back to 2018, 2019 levels. Again, 2020 is like the year where just nothing made sense because everybody's dealing with COVID. So a good year from the liquor fund. It showed operating income of $204,000 for the year. Page 17, the sewer fund, revenues were down. Expenses were up a little bit, but those amounts are so small, it was pretty much status quo there, so nothing really jumped out at us as far as that goes. The water fund on page 18, operating revenues were up about 60,000, expenses as well about 39,000. I pushed about a 25% increase in each of those. In the water fund, definitely healthy fund balance levels there. Motor vehicle revenues were up about 11,000, and expenses were up about 6,000. There really isn't any fund balance in the motor DMV fund by design. Money comes in and goes out. So much less activity reported in that fund compared to the other enterprise funds. The electric fund, we do a separate audit for that. It's got its whole separate set of financial statements, but its revenues were up about 63,000 for the year. And its operating expenses were up significantly, about 383,000. And that is mostly due to the north substation repair and maintenance when that comes out. So in the electric fund, its reserves, net position, fund balance, whatever you want to call it, are very strong and stable as well. Page 21. In summary, when you set the levy for the 2023 budget, make sure to account for that 105%. Fund balance is strong and reserves is strong in the general fund. Now, I didn't touch on the budget to actual because we aren't at results, because the standards don't require us to audit your budget to actual, but you know what, we still like to look at it and just try to see if it tells us anything. The general fund was about 560,000 over budget for expenditures in 2021. Guess where it related? Capital outlay in those repairs. So capital outlay is a little bit in general government. On the revenue side, there was 739,000 over budget, mostly due to the intergovernmental revenue category and the ARPA money and small cities. So liquor fund continues to increase its net position, so that fund is healthy as well. So all in all, pretty stable year, I would say, for the city. And again, I just want to thank everyone for being so kind to us as your external auditors when we come to do the work. And I got time for questions.
Council?
What was
All
the
right.
reserve that you said that the electric company had a reserve as well? Do you know, is that in this, I think, you know where that's at?
Yeah, probably about page 20.
Did you say the water and light?
Water and light, yeah.
Yeah.
About a year and a half?
Yeah, it's about
A year and a half?
about a year and a half,
Yep.
and it's on page 27. And for funds like that, public utilities, electric utility type funds, their reserves, we audit a lot of those, and it's very common for that range to be about 1 to 2 years of reserves there because it's very capital intensive. And because of that, it's more important for them to have more reserves than say the general fund. Okay? Awesome. Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
great summer.
We need a motion to accept the budget. The audit. We need a motion to accept the audit. Have a second? Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 6B, Moose Lake Historical Society Structural Study Week.
Yes, hi, I'm Mr. Mayor, Council Administrator Owen. I'm Peter Elshire. I'm with the Moose Lake Area Historical Society. I'm working on a grant application with the Minnesota Historical Society to address a major structural issue we're having with the depot. The center portion of the depot is sagging. There's water collection problem, and in that area, the footings that hold up the building need to be shored up. And I was applying for funding from the Minnesota Historical Society, but a conditions report that's drafted by a professional structural engineer, I have to submit that report and just to apply for the funding. So I'm here today because we need to get a hold of a structural engineer, and I was thinking of going through the city of Moose Lake or the county, or I need some help in that part of my application process, because I cannot start the process without this report.
So Peter came in and talked to myself in the office, and Mayor Shaw was present as well. I did reach out to our city engineers and just to inquire about the type of report that is needed and the cost to facilitate a report like that. The city engineers went and did a little homework on their end, and their estimate to produce a report like that, if we were to utilize them, would be in the ballpark of $7,500 up to $10,000.
May I add, it's a two-part application process. This first part is a $10,000 application. It would cover, if we receive the grant, it would cover this report, and the city would be reimbursed with the funds. And then the second part of this application would pay for the structural repairs themselves. Do you have any
So-
questions, sir?
So council,
So if we don't, if the Historical Society does not get the grant, then the city itself is out the $75,000 to $10,000.
Right.
I can't believe it.
Over the years, because of when they raised up the depot before, whenever that was, they put footings under the center where the chimneys were. And because of the weight of them chimneys, it caused them footings to sink, and it took the floor with it. And the subfloor is structurally deficient in the center of the building. So what is needed is to get the building raised up and put footings that are down to bedrock underneath the middle of the building, and rebuild some of that subfloor so it doesn't keep going down. And so the building does belong to the city, but we maintain it and lease it. We asked Peter, who's better at this than any of the rest of us, to try to work through the grant process. So that's where we're at now, is we have to have a study in order to get the grant.
Right, I can't proceed at all without a report.
yes, Greg.
Basically, the ground and everything up in where the building is on a table of water. Basically, you go down about 3 feet up there on bedrock, and everything up there above that bedrock has got a flow of water. And I've been underneath the building. Needless to say, you don't really want to crawl underneath that building. I was under it before they took the chimneys and stuff down to see what was actually under there. And basically, it's continuously wet under there. Basically, the whole building underneath there is wet. And really, what the whole thing should be is when an engineer gets under there and examines the whole building, the building itself should be all raised, and it should be finished to the point that the whole thing can be raised, set to a point that it can be taken care of under there, so that the building can be taken care of and last for another lifetime, so that it can be, utilized for another lifetime as for what it is. So, but you can't go anywhere without basically having an engineer to start the process of revitalizing the whole building. And that's where the process of it, where he's trying to get at, to start the process of being able to redo the building. You have to start at the bottom and work up.
Let me ask this, do you have a deadline when this has to be in the grant?
These, the 10,000, they call them the small grants. They are offered 4 times a year. I guess practically once a quarter, that's not necessarily fit. The large grant is, I believe it's twice a year. The next deadline for the small grant is October 22nd.
I guess the next question, how critical is it, like, because this isn't in our budget, and I don't think the council is gonna, especially when we just had the auditor tell us, watch your general fund, it would almost, if the council agrees to it, almost would have to be in next year's budget.
I would defer to Steve Olson because I believe you have a better idea of when this needs.
Yeah, I think Ted, that's perfectly what we would expect, actually, to put it in as a budget item for 2023, to do the study, and so we can apply for the grant. The building's not going to fall down tomorrow. It's sagging, but we did take out about 6 ton per chimney of weight in the center of the building when we took the chimneys down. And these chimneys were 3 foot square with a tile in the middle and filled up with sand around it. They were tremendously heavy, and so it's helped, but it still needs repaired. I mean, it's 1907, it's been a few years.
So it isn't imminent, but it is going to have to be addressed in the future.
I think this, like, tonight would be a good informational for us, and it gives the council time to think of it before we do the budget discussion next month and in September. Excuse me, Alyssa.
I was just wondering, with it being on the historical register, if they're in the interim here, if we can continue to look to see if there's any other monies available to help with funding for the report process as well. So not just this particular grant you're looking at for the structural repairs, but just other monies available for the Historical Society. And the county is another place we discussed we could potentially look for monies to see if just anything is available to help with the process. It would buy us a little bit more time.
I'd be looking as well.
Yeah.
Very good. Any questions by the council?
We've been looking at, I mean, we're always looking at different ways to improve things. There are other things up there that we are also looking at improving different things that we can do for the Historical Society, because, I mean, there's an influx of people coming through that always stop, and there are people we know that stop, that have relation that lives here, and they come back just about every year. Now, we did a major change this last winter in the museum itself, and there were people that stopped this year, and they were really excited because it was a completely different look. And, you know, and it's amazing what people tell you after they come through. I mean, they've been coming through for the last several years, and all of a sudden it's different. And it's hard, you know, we keep asking people, you know, you can volunteer, so it's hard. So this is a process, and the building, the old building, the new building is one thing, the old building is another, which is harder to keep on the old, so. And we finally found somebody that knows how to sit down and write all that technical stuff that you gotta get when you try to go to like the Minnesota Historical Society. If you don't have it all written down correctly, you don't get nothing. It's like trying to work with the state.
Walter, I was wondering about if this work isn't done, are we looking at the total deterioration of the building over time then?
But the sagging would continue, yes.
Yeah.
And the moisture is causing rot, because it's trapped under there.
Yeah.
I guess they have some pumps, but there's still a problem with moisture,
It
yes.
sounds like a serious issue to me.
Yeah.
I just hate to see us lose that Historical Society, that depot, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
It's solid wood, so it's susceptible to serious rot under there.
All right, well, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
good information, and I know the staff will be looking at avenues and talking with the council before budget time.
Okay, and I'll be looking at other ground sources.
Thank you. Please, yeah, keep in touch, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to 6C, part-time library clerk job posting. I think it's in the packet. On page 60, is that 8 or 9? 68.
Yes, I would like to recommend that the library hire an additional library clerk to work 2 days a week, once during the week and then on Saturdays. Traditionally, the library has Saturdays from Memorial Day to Labor Day. In the winter time, Saturdays are open from Labor Day to Memorial Day. And then during the summer, when the school's out, then the summer hours are closed, but then the new hire would work on Monday and Tuesday. So throughout the year, the employee would work a stable amount of hours. But having another employee during the week would mean that I would be free to set up more programs, be in the office more to get more of the scheduling done. There's, with another staff member manning the desk, I'm free to move about a lot more and get more things done for the library.
In addition, if you remember, a few months back, we shared the information that we were notified our expenses were low within the library. This is one of the items coming in estimating around $8,000 a year that'll help get us to where we need to be. It's not all of it, but it'll absolutely help. And it's very beneficial for the library, the program, and the staffing as well. So.
I think our funding dropped in the last 2 years.
Correct.
To the library. About how much?
Yeah.
20,000?
I don't have those specific numbers in front of me, but we're making up a significant deficit from 2021. And in addition, need to make sure that we meet that spending threshold moving forward. So if this goes through, then we'll add this into our numbers, kind of reconfigure, and we can share at an upcoming meeting where we're at as far as expenses and what we need to look at for the 2023 budget as well.
I think we have to meet that threshold to get the state
Correct.
aid. That's why it fell. So questions or motion by the council?
I'd like a motion, we hire an additional library clerk part-time as described.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Under 6D, 4th Street Reconstruction Project Update.
Yeah, so in the packet, we included the weekly meeting minutes, just so everybody's aware. We are having weekly meetings on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. in the parking lot across from the Water and Light office. Everybody's invited to attend. That's, residents, business owners, everybody alike. We included the weekly minutes just so everybody had a little bit of visibility as to the type of items discussed and what we're working on. One of the main focuses for us this week was making sure that we have the intersection of Birch and 4th open this weekend for Agate Day. So we have confirmed with the contractor that that will occur. And in addition, we've got some pictures here that Phil's going to explain and provide additional updates for.
So I guess first off, the question of the minutes. We're good? Good, okay. Overall, the project is going pretty well. Ahead of schedule. On like day 4, we're already like 2 days ahead of schedule. Very happy, very much so, yes. Like to see that, so the first picture here, we're looking at some water main. We have not gotten into any, sanitary sewer main yet. That's worthy of any good pictures. The water main, yeah, that didn't take us very long to start finding some. So I'm going to start showing just a couple of things here. Looks like it's starting on page 63. You see a picture of a pipe. You see a 1 on top and a 2 on the bottom, right? The 1 on top is about, that's showing the thickness of that pipe is about ½ inch, which is about normal for when the install date, when it went in. That's pretty normal. If you look at that section where 2 is, it is considerably thinner. It's about 5/16 of an inch. So over time, the flow of water through that pipe continuously wears away at that material. This is why we're doing a full road reconstruct right here. This is why we're replacing utilities. So If we're wondering why, this is why. The next page, you will see there's a little chunk highlighted there between two Sharpie marks in the red. Looks like I was just a kindergartner at my desk, just using all kinds of different colors here. I'm sorry, but anyway, it just dawned on me. That's what you're looking at there. That's a poured leaded joint. So back in the day, you take the pipe, put it in fitting, put some oakum around there to hold the lead back, pour some hot lead in there, and when it would cool, it would dull and it would harden, and that was your joint. That's what held everything together. The Department of Health really likes to see this come out of the ground. So this is another reason why we're doing this. So good deal. Kudos to Moose Lake. The next picture down. This one I had to laugh at. With a plumbing background, I had to laugh at this. If you look and if you have electronic copy, zoom in. Looks like everybody does. On the right side, we have a piece of forage cast iron pipe. On the left side, we have a piece of forage iron pipe. So iron pipe lead together. Cast iron pipe is poured lead. They don't intermingle, but they do in Moose Lake because this was welded to each other. So once again, this is another reason why we're doing a road reconstruct. So kudos to us again, because this is literally our infrastructure in the ground, transporting water to our residents. Next picture down, all that is sludge. It's a buildup of iron and manganese in the water main. A lot of our water mains like that done. So it's restricting the flow. Once again, another reason we're doing this. Kudos to Moose Lake. This is going to be a wonderful deal. My iPad movie just shut down. Sorry. I'll get there. I think that was it for the pictures, right?
That's it.
Yep.
The contractor's been really great to work with as far as traffic control is concerned. I know it's been a little difficult to navigate around the city offices, the DMV, some of those businesses. They've done a great job of communicating individually with homeowners and local businesses. Everyone's just doing their best. We're kind of having to fly off the cuff a little bit because as they are ahead of schedule, some things that we would like to plan as far as announcements and communications have to be a little flexible. So we are absolutely doing our best, but overall it's gone really well.
We are trying to take advantage of that as a whole, because I'm sure flip side of this, we won't be ahead of schedule. So we like it. It's good progress. The crew was great. I have 0 complaints. Yep.
Questions?
I just really like to see the pictures, and as we move forward, as we discussed, I said that they've taken down the trees, some of the trees that were involved. I'd really like to see how the infrastructure was damaged or compromised, I should say, by those trees.
Our next meeting, I should have some more pictures for you there. Where these were at, a whole lot for trees to be interfering with. The next portion, we will have lots. We will have more time, especially when we get the service lateral for the sanitary side. We'll get so I'll get some more pictures for that too. But there wasn't a whole lot to take pictures of the sanitary. They only got 100 feet on the sanitary side. So.
And historically speaking, I think it's a great idea to have all those pictures as well, so people can see what happens every time.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. You know, one thing to keep in mind too, this used to be one of the main feeders through town, and it's 4-inch, right? And now to put it up to where our needs are as a city, we were installing 8-inch. So we're increasing our capacity by double. Actually, more than double because this pipe's half road shut. So
You got a lot more pressure now than you had then.
well, pressure works on gravity, so pressure no, but volume, yes. You're on the right there, or you're on the right track. Absolutely.
Any further? Otherwise, I'll go on to E, 73 Trail Project uphill.
Want me to start? Okay. So the trail looks completed. We are working through some. You don't remember.
So we had met with the engineer group and a couple of outside entities, including the county, DOT. While we did our punch list walkthrough, there are a couple of items that have been identified as areas to which we didn't feel met our standard for acceptance. In addition, there are some items that are outside of the original spec. And so as these are being identified, we're starting to work through them with our engineer group. I can give one example. There was some scaling taking place on the concrete.
So I can touch on the technical side of that. I didn't know how you wanted that worded.
Yep.
We have some issues with some concrete. We're going to be doing a core sample on that to see what the air density is in the concrete, to see if it's going to hold up to the way we want it to. We have some blacktop thickness issues we're working through. We don't quite know what that looks like yet, but at least from Alyssa and my standpoint, we're not ready to release any retainage or think that's a good idea at all at this point. And then shoulder restoration of that trail, there's over 3,000 feet to come back and fix. So this is, if you can look at this and relate this to why we haven't finished the well house project because of the fluoride pump is not working correctly, this is the same concept, same exact concept. This is basically holding the contractor's feet to the fire and making them give us what we pay for before we're going to pay them. We are working with SCH really closely to look at this entire project, the entire project as a whole. Today I actually requested we do a few more tests on a few more things to look into a few more things in a little bit more in depth. I don't want to share a whole lot on that yet, but there will be more to come on that. But yeah, it's, I know the public likes it. I know I see people on there constantly. That's great, that's awesome. But we are not completed with it yet. Any questions?
Is that retainage amount, is it 10 or 5%?
5%.
So is it worth their money to actually fix the problem, or are they willing to probably just eat the 5% and say we're done?
Can't answer that right now.
How much is the 5%?
60 grand.
Probably not.
But that would be enough for us if we don't pay them to do a lot of restoration that we think should be done.
Yeah.
If it means that, if it's enough to fix the 60, if 60,000 is enough to fix the problem.
Right.
So this we're to the point on some of this, it'd go back to warranty. Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, it's not just retainage, it's forward. So there's more here to it than just the retainage. Yeah.
That's all I have.
So anything else on the trail?
I don't have anything else.
And I do see people using it all the time.
Yep, absolutely.
And they love it. Just have to finish up those last few things. All right, let's see, F. 73 project, Carlton County Pay Application number 6.
So this is pay application number 6. Essentially, once this gets approved, we don't actually cut a check for the amount with this request, which is $228,530.54. So we are not cutting a check. This pay app is approval for the county to then start dispersing some of this through our different funding sources. So this is not the amount that a check will actually be cut out of this office. This facilitates funding on the backside. So this is a standard pay app request that I would recommend we pay in the amount of $228,530.54.
We have any discussion and or motion by the council?
Motion to approve.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6G, 73 Trail Project Change Order number 5.
So this change order is for the amount of $16,745. Again, this is not an item that we'll be cutting a check for. Our engineers have been working with LPP, that's one of our grant funding sources through the state. This is an item that they have identified as being eligible for LPP funds to cover. And Phil, would you be willing to get a little bit technical on what this change order is for?
Yep, absolutely. So at the roundabout, heading southbound on County 10, you immediately look to your right, that grade change is way too steep. It needs either a fence, some soil correction, better sloping grading, and I believe there's even a little blacktop needs to be fixed there. With this change order, I'm not sure which one they decided to select because I haven't seen the detail from MnDOT yet. But this is to put it so it's actually acceptable standard, so we can actually have people on that trail safely, so they're not flying off the other end. That's what this entails.
Because it's in MnDOT's right away, LPP and that state funding source is willing to cover this change order. We just need to technically approve it.
Questions and a motion by the council?
I'll make that motion to approve change order number 5.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Under 6H, 2022 sewer lining project update.
So we had a pre-con meeting on this yesterday, which is good. This is kind of getting rolling. Start date of August 1st, I believe. Final completion 2nd September. It's going to be a little bit longer project. We're doing a lot more work here. You know that, right? It's 650 some feet of 24 inch and just over 1,200 feet of 21 inch. So much bigger than what we're used to, about 3 times more than what we're used to. It'll take a little longer. We're going to have a lot more bypass pumping. But it'll be good. That work will take place the entire month of August there. But that'll be a really good thing. Just like I mentioned earlier, with our I&I issues still, got to keep working on it. So excited for this to keep going. August is going to be busy around here, like crazy busy, but that's okay. We'll get through it. That's all I have on that one.
You don't need any, this is all informational.
It's all informational.
Thank you. Any questions from the
I said
council?
you're so positive.
That's right.
Moving on to 6I, recycle shed relocation and brush pile monitoring.
So Phil and I have been doing some work in the background regarding some problem solving and solution-based thinking for the brush pile. So we know the brush pile needs monitoring, and we know that for a variety of reasons, one of them being the county has communicated to us that they would like to see it monitored based on a pollution potential and or contamination potential with people dropping off whatever it might be. It hits the end of the bottom of the pile, we're not aware of it, and it gets burned, and or some of the ashes and where our brush pile is located in proximity to the river. So when we do our burns and things go down into the soil and potentially out into the river, we just want to be really mindful of what's actually going into the site and our burn process. So with that, we've started to look into the potential to move the recycling shed over to the brush pile area. So we started working with Corolla at the county. She came down and met with us, and we just kind of wanted to get the county's take because the county does facilitate our recycling program in coordination with us. And so the county has given their approval to relocate the recycle shed. They actually thought it was an excellent idea. Our public works would be responsible for site prep.
And then part of that SWIP plan, which would be the stormwater prevention program, which is basically what eliminates those top surface pollutants that you're talking about from being burned directly right into the river, which is not, honestly, it's a berm. It's a dirt berm, that's all it is. And there's tons of material up there to do it. It would require us to rent some equipment for the SWIP, to take care of the SWIP portion of that. But as far as the slab and everything else goes, it's pretty good.
Yep, so Public Works would pour the slab. We've got one estimate, and I guess this is just essentially for information at this point. Does council want us to get a second quote to move the recycle shed? Do we want to look at it as a budget item for the next year? Looking to see, prioritize, is this something we want to accomplish, how quickly, and we will take action from there.
Did you say there's one bid?
There is only one, yep.
Are you satisfied with it?
We can definitely look for more. This just kind of jumped at us, and it kind of ended up on the agenda without time for either the administrator or myself to get another quote. So it was just kind of, we were just kind of looking and hunting and feeling around, and then all of a sudden this letter came, or the email came in. It's like, you know what, let's throw this out here so you guys all know what's going on.
Another component to this that we've discussed and would like to just bring forward even for additional discussion is we are one of the only recycle sheds and or facilities that aren't charging. So we have the potential at this point, we could check driver's license and we could charge for commercial dumping, which is not something we do now. So of course a free service for residents, but we would then have the opportunity, if we have staffing there like we do now, to have it open during the hours it's staffed, and then to potentially help that particular, the cost of facilitating the recycle shed be a break-even point for us, because right now it's not.
I feel that volume is there. There's so many people that come there that, from multiple different areas, that, and it wouldn't have to be a huge margin either, it could be really small. Just, I think you make that up in volume, and it would help. I mean, because let's face it, we don't make any money. You know what I mean? Not around the recycling. So
What would be the next step then? Another bid and then bring it to the council in August?
I mean, we could. I mean, this is nothing that needs to happen immediately either, nor do I know if I have time to get this slab board and everything moved this fall yet either, just with as busy as it's going to be. Not to mention, Clifton Allen just told us not to spend any more money, pretty much, right? So, I mean, I have zero problem waiting until spring. I'm fine with that. But if you want to push it through this year, we'll get it done. That's no problem.
Let's give you a little time to organize and site prep.
I could get another quote, you know, I could reach out for a couple more even, maybe we could do a little bit better. Maybe there's a grant opportunity out there for us to help pay for even the concrete or something.
Yeah, we looked into the county, essentially we asked the county if they'd be willing to help contribute any funds for it, and they are not. They will promote our project, but they will not help fund it.
That's where this started, and then we ended up with a SWIP plan and a whole bunch of other work we had to do with this, which is fine, it's fine, but it was kind of went backwards on us a little bit real quick. So I guess it's up to you, whatever you want to do. I mean, you're probably, to move this in a slab and to reorganize everything, I suppose you're probably somewhere $7,000, $8,000. I mean, so maybe we should budget for it. I have no problem with it.
Well, council just get a feel right till next budget cycle.
Well, if it isn't an urgent
No, it's not.
thing, then you're,
It makes sense.
like you'd be pretty busy. I would say we could wait until.
Next summer. Spring.
Get it right away in the spring. Get it done.
I'd love to see it done for sure. As a project that needs to happen. Every time I go there, I see somebody I don't know. Breaking a lot of stuff. So, that'd be nice.
Yes, sir.
So the people that are in charge of the recycling, they would also then be in charge of what goes into the leaf piles and that?
Yep.
So the county is adamant that we gate that off.
Okay, so
restricted access, especially with where it's located in proximity to the.
So it would be open during the same times that the recycle shed is open? Would it be? It would not be open on weekends then?
At that point, if the recycle shed is open on Saturday and Sunday for some particular hours, or on Saturday, it's for 4 hours on Saturday. We can look at extending hours, especially for bringing in revenue from fees. So all that would be up for
for discussion.
Discussion, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we'd have to discuss that because that is the time that people do their work.
Right.
And the citizens would be very upset that it's closed.
Very good. I think we have some direction. Appreciate it. And moving on, let's see here, J. LMCIT claims city property infrastructure hail damage.
Yes, so we've been in contact with the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust. Phil went out on a couple occasions with some adjusters. We had 47 buildings and or pieces of city infrastructure that were inspected. We are waiting on our final report, inspection report, so we'll be certain to share that. We can share at this time that we have discovered there is a significant amount of damage. And so what that looks like and how many buildings and total loss versus partial, we're still in the process of determining that, but we just wanted to share that we're aware there is damage and that we're actively pursuing.
Very good. Thank you. Moving on to K, this is a rooftop unit quote from Region Electric and Mechanical.
Okay, so rooftop unit, commercial building like this building for your forced air heat and your AC has what's called a rooftop unit. Your furnace is up there. It's a downdraft style unit. When we order them here, they have to be custom built to our size ductwork and how everything sits, right? Just so it's set in place for the crane and it all hooks up and goes. That's just the way most RTUs work. So, with that being said,
Yeah, so there was a budget item in 2021 for a rooftop unit. The budget amount was $10,000 for 2021. There was a changeover in ownership of the company, and so
during, I believe, the time the quote was accepted by the council, and before the unit was finished in the assembly line. So we ordered the unit, right? Then the change happened in the middle of that. And of course with COVID, everything took forever to get, and now we just got notified it's in.
So the unit
Kind of a mess.
The unit is in. We had budgeted $10,000 in 2021 for it. That money didn't get utilized, didn't get spent, but also didn't get earmarked for 2022. So now the unit is in. We are looking at potentially a restocking fee and or purchasing the unit. Now in 2022's budget, there is a line item for another unit for $12,000. So what you have here is the cost to actually install the unit and purchase the unit was $16,911. We do not have that budgeted for. That's significantly more. So at this time, what my recommendation would be is this $10,000 will secure the unit for us. We do have that as a budget within our budget for 2022. We are going to store the unit, and then potentially next year within our budget cycle, we'll make sure we accommodate for another unit because it's one a year, and then we're going to have to itemize some monies for installing, and we're hoping that we can save if we install 2 at that time, and we'll make sure that we have it within our budget in order to be able to do so.
And so we can capitalize on some of this extra.
Very good. It's all informational right now. Do you want a motion on the 10,000?
We actually need a motion on the 10,000. The reason why we don't have 2 quotes is because this was kind of already approved previously, and or we have to get this unit, otherwise we'll be looking at a couple $1,000s of a restocking fee.
And we're just with the same company that
Same
gave
company.
the original.
Yep.
Correct.
For
So
the
we're,
information, we have 7 rooftop units on this building alone. 2 were brand new, 5 need to get replaced.
this would be the third.
This would be 3rd, next year will be 4th.
Correct. Where do you plan on storing this?
Somewhere. In your office, probably. Let's go with that. We'll find a place to put it.
We got it.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to L, the chloride quote, Hawkins Incorporated.
Yep, so ferrochloric acid, it is the chemical we use for treat phosphorus removal on ponds. You have 1 quote because I could not get Fremont to call me back at all. And they're the 2 chemical feed companies that we use in pretty much the upper Midwest. Right now we're looking at, so we're looking at about $1,000 a ton. There's the 90 dry ton, 871704 is the total for that semi-tanker load of Terracore gas. Kind of right in the wheelhouse from where we are. It's a little higher with COVID, but it's not horrible. But it is the only one I could get. So, and we need it in September. So.
This is under budget for this line item.
Oh, yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah, like I think we can get 2 loads.
Correct.
You can start with that next time.
What's that? I need it in
It's
September?
under budget first.
Did I scare you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, this is
One's running a
budget.
little high today.
Yours is?
Yeah, well,
So is mine. Don't worry, Doc. It's been one of them days.
Okay. So we need a motion.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We're down to 6M Northern Lake Surgery Center variance request.
So this item did go in front of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has made a recommendation to approve this request for variance. Essentially, our zoning ordinance has a requirement of 1 parking space for every 200 feet of floor area. Due to the size of the Northern Lake Surgery Center building, they will be slightly under that. The current site supports 103 parking spaces. And so they wanted to make sure they are crossing their Ts and dotting their Is and asking for a variance to our ordinance.
How this was passed in the past, because Shopko and Alco had the same variance request, and it was passed. So and it goes with the business, not with the building. So that's why it had to be redone again.
I'll make a motion, we pass the request for variance for the Northern Lake Surgery Center.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 6-0, partial 21-190-1161.
You forgot N.
Did I do one? N. Excuse me. N, municipal liquor store financial analysis.
City Council, Mayor Shaw, Administrator Owens, thanks for having me up here again. I didn't think you'd want me back up here after last month, so thank you. Earlier this evening, Elaine talked about changing the credit card fees, so I just wanted to give some more background and shed some light on that a little bit. In last month's liquor board meeting, we looked over financials, and while the liquor store is doing well in revenue, it's also doing well in spending money. So we did our best to outline a few things that we could work on, and several items that we wanted her to work on right away. The first one being the credit card fees, and part of what Alyssa and I were trying to support Elaine to help accomplish these things. So I called the credit card transactions people to ask them what the fee is. I got the first lady couldn't answer my question. Her supervisor couldn't answer it. Her supervisor couldn't answer it. And the reason being is the way they charge us is by how secure our transaction process is. So if it uses a chip, they charge us less. If we just type in the credit card number, they charge us more. So they weren't able to give me a definitive percentage, which was still really weird to me. So we just did our own math, looked at the last couple of statements. It's coming in a little over 3%, so we recommended that Elaine did 3.5%. And when we interest check other area places that do this, it's anywhere from 2 to 4%. So we felt we were rating the scope of what everyone else is doing. Another thing that was outlined was overtime. I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Sure. So overtime was identified as significantly over years past, but not only that, it's just an item that is not necessary with the amount of staffing opportunities we have with a combination of part-time and full-time employees down there. So based on the expense that we've seen thus far, we are working with Elaine to eliminate overtime. And so we'll be working, continuing to work on that. It will be an agenda item for our next liquor board meeting. We're going to continue to just drill in. We've offered to help with scheduling recommendations and things of that nature to eliminate overtime. As it stands right now, employees have been scheduled for overtime, and so we'll make sure that that doesn't occur. And just looking at other opportunities to immediately rectify some of our expenses. Want to talk about pricing at all?
Yep. So another thing we're doing is price checking. I got a crash course on the system they use down there, able to produce a top sellers list. Fortunately, it has every item they have in the store, so I'm also able to look at things that are not selling well, so maybe we're overpricing those and we need to reduce those prices. But anyway, we're in somewhere, not in the beginning stages, but we're somewhere in the middle of gauging the prices of everything that's being sold in there.
We'll have more information to share, especially after the next liquor board meeting. We really want to kind of tune into it. So as Ryan mentioned, our revenues were consistent and or even slightly higher than last year. We know last year was kind of a banner year for the liquor fund. So that was excellent to see. What was slightly concerning is that our expenses are also way up. And so with inflation, and I know we've incurred price increases from all of our vendors, fuel surcharges, things of that nature. Between that and overtime and a couple other items, it just, we want to be really mindful to make sure that we're maximizing revenues there as best we can.
One more thing that I'd like to do after Elaine was talking about the good weekend was put some analysis to that, and I got to talk to Alyssa about this. But something I've done in the past is pro formas and post analysis of events. So like big weekends like 4th of July and 80 days, to really break it down to see what our expenses are, what did we make in revenue, and kind of take a look at that and then build a history off of that. So each year we can take a look at how we're performing. So just throwing that out there. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Moving on to 6.0 partial 21-190-1161 property purchase discussion.
Yes, so I was contacted by Superintendent Steen. She communicated to me that the school district is interested in selling this parcel. They wanted to make us aware prior to anybody else, just to see whether or not the city had any interest in purchasing this land. I have had discussions with her about our budget cycle. She said that the board is generally very good and mindful about wanting to work within the city's budget cycle for this property. So if we have interest in it, it's something that we can work into the 2023 budget. So I essentially just wanted to present the opportunity. They did give us a purchase price that I included in my original communication. Just wanted to gauge interest and see if it's something that you would like us to pursue. And in doing so, then we would look at opportunities to purchase and close in 2023.
I talked to some school board members and they were more than willing to hold off until they heard from us, including going into the next budget cycle.
Mr. Mayor, I think it would make sense, considering we've purchased the parcels around that. And if we're going to expand Canton into that field, I think, that would be a benefit to have that. Roadway, whatever, Or
I see a
buffer.
real benefit if we do that, to make the entrance to the whole campground over here, get it off of 4th Street and Birch and all of this downtown. That would be right off the freeway or 61, right on 7th, that's 7th. Entrance right into it. I see real benefit there.
Well, I think we'd be mindful of that, we would keep a little bit of a buffer for the
Absolutely.
residents that are along that road.
Yeah. Do we have consensus to move ahead with this? I guess I'm asking, and look at it as a budget item in September, August to September.
One thing I will verify is that there are no additional requirements for that property as it was deemed a school forest. And so that potentially could just be a name. But if there's any requirements for how we proceed or what we do with the property in the deed, I'll make sure that I investigate that as well.
There is one special tree in there, but I think you would have to make sure it stays.
Noted.
It was called the spike tree. I don't know. I mean, I just remember that from high school, or elementary and high school when we played it.
That actually fell down.
Oh, it did?
It did.
And then during the flood, it floated down and got stuck under the bridge.
It was around 400 to 500 years old.
Yeah, but that was very special.
It did die.
It was.
It died in
Actually, I was down there when we pulled it out, Randy's record. I didn't realize that was the spike tree.
That was it?
Well, then I guess.
Do you want to have a ceremony or something?
Well, not until it's like, wow, like she's back there.
Very old.
Yeah.
But it sounds like we have consensus, so yes, we're moving ahead. Thank you. Six, let's see, P, annual 8th Street block party request.
Yes, I received a request from Pam Hall regarding an annual block party. I know we've had it in years past. I just wanted to make sure that Chief Jutton had an opportunity to weigh in and/or that the council was aware of this request.
I think it's a good thing, you know, if they're willing to do that and get that out. Traffic's light there, shouldn't be a problem to block it off if we need to, or do whatever, so.
We need a motion on this.
I think it's just consensus and I can let her know.
Greg? Sounds like you're fine with letting it do that.
Bingo. What?
The block party.
This block party that they do every year, no consensus on it.
My consensus, I don't care.
I'm fine with it.
I'm fine.
You get consensus. All right. Moving on to 6Q, Moose Lake Historical Society application to conduct
We already have a
exclude
permit.
bingo.
We have a permit for so many, don't we?
I know, this one just came in. This is a standard application. It is the application to conduct excluded bingo.
Excluded. Interesting. Do we have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 6R, Resolution 22.07.01.
This is a standard resolution to appoint election judges for the primary election coming up in August 9th. I just wanted to, in addition to that, share what our hours will be for filing of affidavits of candidacy. I know we will have a mayoral election in addition to 2 council seats. So the filing dates will be from 8 a.m. on August 2nd until 5 p.m. on August 16th. Potential candidates can file in our city offices. And then this resolution essentially is appointing all of our election judges. All of these judges have been contacted again this year and will be participating in training at the county either on Monday, July 18th or July 26th.
Any discussion by the council? We have a motion to accept resolution 22.07.01.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 6S, resolution 22.07.02.
Yes, this is from Carlton County regarding the multi-hazard mitigation plan. Would you like to share any additional information? Come on up.
Thank you. Mayor, council members, Commissioner. My name is Bob Culverson. I am the Carlton County Emergency Management Director. I got hired for the job in June of 2020. Prior to that, in May of 2020, our current hazard mitigation plan was up for renewal. And so, starting the new job, I got roped, not really roped, but yeah, roped. I got asked to partake in the update of the hazard mitigation plan. There was a group, Hundraiser Consulting. She's out of Duluth, along with U of M, Duluth, U-Spatial. We're contracted. They do all of the hazard mitigation plans throughout the state of Minnesota, including the tribal ones. They're very good at what they do. They meet all the requirements of both the state and FEMA, and they very rarely have any of them returned back. The process kind of started out, like I said, May of 2020. From May of 2020 to October 2021, several organizations and agencies participated in the planning of the hazard mitigation plan. All the 9 jurisdictions within Carlton County, along with townships and some other entities, were able to partake and have input, including the public had input on the hazard mitigation plan. June of 2022, we got an update to the plan for review. April 2022, it went and got approved by FEMA. In May of 2022, it was formally adopted by the county. And now my job is to go before each of the 9 jurisdictions within Carlton County to get the plan adopted with a resolution. Part of the mitigation plan, it's good for 5 years. It does kind of get tied into hazard mitigation monies and funds. When there's a hazard declaration that is declared by the president, certain portions of that money is set aside for projects like this, updating plans, and also hazard mitigation project plans. And looking at your mitigation action chart, you have 7 that were identified, and majority of them are the education awareness programs that are high, but they're also existing and ongoing. A new one that you had was additional generators and lift stations for the city hall. And existing, another one was conduct storm shelter for the local campground to protect campers throughout thunderstorms. So those are type of projects that, if they're identified within your plan, there's a potential for getting funding for those types of projects. There's a process like anything else when you deal with the state. There's got put in an application, cost analysis, and then if it gets approved, then move on with the project. So if there's no questions, that's pretty much.
So like a storm building that had an office and happened to have
Bathrooms as well?
made by a brick built that potentially could be fully funded or partially funded?
I can't say yes and I can't say no, but what I will say is when Wadena had the tornado,
yeah,
part of the gymnasium is their shelter.
Would you be who we contact for the application and to initiate the
I would work
process?
through with the state on that.
Sure.
My contact with the state. And then the other things I did learn is if you don't have generator for your water system, you have a generator for your system.
Only at our main lift station, not for our water system, we don't.
Not for the,
You got a grant for that?
it pays to go to council meetings through Minnesota Department of Health.
Really?
Yes.
Mobile, I'm assuming?
Yes. I'm learning more about it. I'm gonna try and get a hold of the, another city had to adopt, I apologize, but another city had to adopt a wellhead protection plan.
Oh, yeah.
And because of some of the recommendations, security and so forth, and then having a backup system for the municipal water supply, there is grants available for preventative.
Don't let you finish and then I'm gonna grab it before you leave if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm learning more about this as
That's
we
fine.
go as well.
I'm learning tonight too, so that's great.
So that is basically it, and I have one question in regards to the structure damage, infrastructure damage, which was during a storm. Was that reported, or were you just kind of taking it?
Reported, I guess.
So what we look at is, in my position, is if there's any damage, natural floods, storms and so forth, we like to get that information, because if we meet a certain threshold within the state, if we wanted to declare a federal declaration, it has to be $9.7 million. We're not going to reach that. But half of what the county is, so if the county's $100,000 and we come up with $50,000 worth of damage to public infrastructure, we can get that covered up to 75% of the cost. So damage to streets, waters, anything else like that, if it's covered by insurance, the only thing that they will cover is the deductible.
Got it.
Okay?
Interesting. So, do you work with, like, the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust as far as reporting and sharing information, or would we be the link?
You would be.
Okay.
Yes. So that's one of the things about trying to get cities, townships, the county, DNR, anything that is public infrastructure. There's A through G categories that are considered public infrastructure that, if damaged, is eligible for assistance. And if it's enough damage to declare a presidential declaration, then it's covered 100%. Federal covers 75%, the state covers the other 25%. But if it doesn't meet the federal declaration, but it meets the state threshold, then the state of Minnesota will cover 75%. You cover the 25% for in-kind costs and so forth. So that's why it's really, really important to get any damages or anything else like that, because the overall information that HSEM looks for is what impact did the storm have on your community. And that's just a cumulative of different items throughout the community. And that, so like I said, townships, roads, county roads. DNR just submitted something to me for some roads that were damaged up to $6,000. You know, it's not enough, but it still shows that there was an impact and the impact was on them, you know, to help repair those things. But if the impact is great enough and we collect those dollar amounts, there's potential to get reimbursed.
Based on the initial response that we've got from the adjusters, it might actually be a significant amount of money, so I'll make sure that I forward our inspection report to you.
It's really important.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank
And a lot of that goes with, you know, category B, if there's emergency services and that. There is a $3,500 kind of a minimal, so it's got to be over above that. So it's kind of over and above what we were talking about, but I want to make sure that I mentioned it to you.
Thank you.
Yes, so back to the mitigation plan. So that is kind of part of what I do in regards to the hazard mitigation plan and other plans that I work on.
And for those that haven't met Marlon before, like when we had our power outage in the winter when it was really cold, Marlon was a big, huge help lining the resources and stuff up for us, so it's been a great resource.
The 2012 flood, the state did, we did meet your thresholds, and they do a 75% disbursement to us, which is really
It has
huge
been-
for the city.
It's been a very active summer, and right now the president has signed one declaration. He's got another one that's going to be presented to him, and they're collecting on the third one within 37 days. So,
Just a quick question, are there deadlines on the items that were identified for Moose Lake? Do we have any kind of deadlines at all?
there is a deadline. The process is, if there's no, and I'll make sure that I follow the proper process, is during an event, if the county is going to be involved or other entities, the county declares a state of emergency, that information goes to HSCN, goes to the governor, and then it kind of starts that process of the paperwork and that. So you just make sure that it follows within that parameter. So that's why when I make a request for, we call it a PDA, preliminary damage assessments, if you guys are familiar with this, we do not need an exact number of what the damage is going to cost. If it's high, that's great. The damage assessment crews will come in and look at that and decide what is eligible, what is not, and what the actual cost is. Okay, so it's, like I said, it's just a preliminary damage assessment. But that information is really, really important when we have these hailstorms, windstorms, rains, floods, or anything like that.
Very good. Council, questions? Thank you very much, appreciate that. So we need a resolution, a motion on the resolution, 22.07.02.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Moving on to 6T, Darren Jutland contract renewal. Alyssa.
Stuff from sleeping in the morning.
I think T and U will be handled in a closed
Session.
session.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
We will do that after
sure.
we've completed the regular business for the council. We're going to close and come back out and do the vote, then adjourn. So moving on to 6U Administrative Assistant Taylor Hansberry. Alyssa.
Yes, I have, do you want to do that one in closed as well?
Just kind of explain.
Sure.
And then we'll be doing that in closed session.
Excellent. So the Personnel Committee has made a recommendation for hire for the administrative assistant role. I do have her background check and her resume and information to share as well within closed session, and we'll be looking for a motion to hire Taylor Hansberry.
So we'll move on to 7, reports and correspondence. 7A, Minnesota State Demographic Center 2021 population and household estimates.
I just wanted to provide some information that I received at this time. Our April 1st, 2021 population estimate is 2,603. And then our April 1st, 2021 household estimate was 604. This was given to us by the Minnesota State Demographic Center, and I just wanted to share the most recent population data that I received.
Informational for council. 7B, motor vehicle experience communication.
I just wanted to provide, I did receive this email this week. It was a motor vehicle customer who had a fantastic experience, and I just we all hear a lot of bad, but I also want to share the good. And so this was an opportunity where I could give them a job well done.
Who's this person from? I've got to get to
The Twin
letter.
Cities, from the Twin Cities. Yeah.
A, committee and board meeting minutes. We have A, the Moose Lake Area Fire District, May 10th, 2022. And a quick question, I was asked, did you do the communication for Happy Days with the fire department?
Yes, I did.
And for
Triathlon?
Triathlon.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. 8B, the Moose Lake Area Fire District for May 17th. Is that a special one? Getting very close.
Yes, there was a special meeting.
8C, Moose Lake Parks and Rec, June 6, 2022. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? Now we'll move on to announcements. Regular Moose Lake City Council meeting will be Wednesday, August 10th at 4 p.m. right here. Moose Lake Economic Development Authority, Wednesday, July 20th at 12 p.m. City Conference Room. Moose Lake Water Light Commission regular meeting Tuesday, July 19, 1 p.m. in the Water Light Office. Moose Lake Housing Redevelopment Authority Board, Monday, August 8th, 11 a.m. Hillside Manor Office. Moose Lake Area Fire District, Tuesday, August 9th, 6:30 at the Emergency Response Center. Moose Lake Park Board meeting Monday, August 29th, 5 p.m. Right here. And with that, we will need a motion to go into, I'll read this. The City Council of Moose Lake will meet in closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05 Subdivision 2A to have a personnel discussion. The meeting will take place in the council chambers of the Community Center at 313 Elm Avenue. So we will need a motion to go into closed session. Second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we're going to closed session. Thanks everyone for coming. Okay, very good. Thank you.